Each in our own way, let us be in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of many names, move. Come, deepen us, open us, anchor us in this moment so that we are the community bearing witness, sharing in celebration. This life, this unique life that blessed us, that of Priscilla Gould. Coming from different places, different ways, let us come together here and now. May this be so. Amen. Thank you so much for being here. My name is JT. I'm the interim senior minister of First Congregational. A place that maybe Priscilla might not have even chosen had it not been for John. And yet, Priscilla's being here for so many years seemed so right. She became very important to this congregation. Even in my short time, I've learned that. And it touches me to be here, even in the short time I knew her and the time we spent before her death. In the stories shared from those who are close to her as we prepared for this day. And I know in some ways she would be so pleased that you're all here because of her deep love of community. That she wanted to be a person who helped others to come together for the good. And as I told the family, we are here to do something that humans have been doing for longer than we can remember. Acknowledging that one of the tribe has died. Acknowledging that the relationship is now profoundly changed. So while our relationship with Priscilla continues, there's still a love here. There's still a relationship. It is profoundly different, and we grieve that. And yet, this is what we are coming to digest, if you will, to get used to. And our ritual time here, our time as a community, our time in witnessing and celebrating this life helps us to do that, to get used to the new relationship. So thank you for coming here to honor her life and to join in this celebration. I invite you now stand as you are able in body and spirit to sing together this song of tradition here in the United Church of Christ. There is a flower in the cedar apple tree, in the coos of hidden promise, butterflies will soon be free. In the cold and snow of winter, there's a spring that waits to be unrevealed until it sees something God alone can see. There's a song in every silence, singing word and melody. There's a dawn in every darkness, bringing hope to you and me. From the past will come the future, but it holds a mystery, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. Is our beginning, in our time infinity, in our now there is remaining, in our life eternity, in our death sin is granted, and the last of victory, unrevealed until the season, something God alone can see. Please be seated. I learned a little bit about Priscilla's life. I learned her great love of nature, but a love of poetry. And certainly a way of being that this next reading captures. My apologies to Bessie Anderson Stanley and her lineage. I made the same mistake as many, attributing it to Emerson as we designed this worship. Success from Bessie Anderson Stanley. He has achieved success who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much. Who has enjoyed the trust of pure women, the respect of intelligent men, and the love of little children. Who has filled his niche and accomplished his task, who has left the world better than he found it, whether by an improved poppy, a perfect poem, or a rescued soul. Who has never lacked appreciation of earth's beauty or failed to express it. Who has always looked for the best in others and given them the best he had, whose life was an inspiration, whose memory a benediction. Apologize for the gender there. Bessie wrote a long time ago. And this poem from the great late American poet Mary Oliver, it's called In Blackwater Woods. This is an area near where she lived and that experienced a fire. This is a poem she wrote after witnessing that forest fire. Look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light, are giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the ponds. And every pond, no matter what its name is, is nameless now. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime leads back to this: the fires and the black river of loss, whose other side is salvation, whose meaning none of us will ever know. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing you're, and when the time comes, to let it go. To let it go. We'll come up here each in turn. The new Priscilla Bell, I want to share about her life.
Good morning. Shortly after Priscilla died, John and I were sitting on my back deck talking while carving pumpkins for Halloween, and I told him what an important mentor Priscilla had been to me, and he asked me to share a few things with you today. I'm honored to do so, especially in this church. Priscilla and I attended this church together, and this was an important place to her. It was a place that she came to be filled and nurtured. My name is Tracy Lampman, and Priscilla Gould was one of the four most influential women in my life. The other three, by the way, are my mother, my wife, and a pastor. So Priscilla was held in very high regard. She made a difference in my life. She made a difference in this community, and I would guess that she made a difference in your lives as well. What did I learn from her? I learned skills that I use every day. Most of them really boil down to trust. She taught me about Trust Me Blue. She taught me to trust the people, and she taught me to trust the process. She taught me about wearing blue. She said that blue was the color of trust, and whenever she had an important meeting, she would generally wear blue. She called it Trust Me Blue. I was going to wear a pretty dress today, but I decided I had to wear blue for Priscilla. She taught me to trust the people. She was the type of leader that led by example. She didn't talk a lot during meetings. She may have come into the meeting knowing what she wanted to accomplish, but she didn't direct or control the meeting to that outcome. Instead, she put the right people in the room, and then she would just trust the people to come up with the pathway and the process to get there. She trusted us to do the right thing, and she was usually right. I've never once seen any other leader really lead with the type of calm trust and quiet confidence that Priscilla used. And she taught me to trust the process. She taught me one of the healthiest ways to deal with conflicts of interest and personal bias. Before any meeting at United Way, when we were going to make an important policy or financial decision, we would start the meeting by going around the table and declaring our conflicts of interest. She believed that you didn't have to eliminate your conflicts of interest, but you just had to declare them. It helped us to build trust with each other, and it allowed us to bring our whole selves into the meeting and into the decision-making process. Over the years, I watched her deal with some of the most pressing and difficult problems in our community. I watched her bring together leaders that some who had completely different points of view and wanted conflicting outcomes, and I witnessed the transforming energy that brought visions that they could both own and feel proud of. Over the years, I watched her literally gather hundreds and thousands, and likely tens of thousands of volunteers. She would find people, and she would link them to their passions. Often, she would help us find our passions. And those people would then take their passions and go find more people to do the work. I was just one of those people. How many of you are one of those people? Raise your hand. She was an important mentor to me, and she called on me to mentor others. I certainly learned skills from her, but as important, or perhaps more important, was how she made me feel. I felt engaged. I felt hopeful, like the solutions were possible. I felt competent and confident. She believed in me. She encouraged me to be authentic, to bring my whole self into the arena. She made me want better things for our community. She helped me understand that we are the community, and it's not just someone else's problem to solve. It was our issue, and it felt like we could do the things to make it better. If we just worked together, it all felt possible. She made me want to give more, to do more, and to be more. How many of you spent time with Priscilla and felt more engaged and hopeful about the possibility of solutions? How many of you felt more competent and confident about yourself because of her? How many of you felt encouraged to be more authentic, to lean in, to bring your whole selves to the arena? That is her legacy. We are her legacy. Priscilla made a difference for us. She made a difference in our community, and we have to continue that legacy. Priscilla will live on through us, through our actions, through our authentic caring and our authentic trying, through our continuing to believe that we can do better, and then actually doing better. Priscilla, thank you.
First of all, I thank you again for the opportunity to speak here. I'm truly, I've told you many times, truly honored and humbled by that. When I first met Priscilla about 25 years ago, I was a relatively new leader at Pacific Source local health plan. I was interested in connecting more with United Way, finding a way to engage in the community at a higher level and lifting up Pacific Source's community profile. In fact, I remember early on in one of our meetings telling Priscilla that I was interested in finding ways to maybe work on some of the gaps and challenges that existed within healthcare. Over time, I was fortunate to work with and collaborate with Priscilla in a number of settings. In addition to United Way, she came on to the Pacific Source Board and the Pacific Source Foundation Board, which she actually chaired for a long period of time. Like everyone here, I came to admire her passion and caring about the community, and particularly those in need. What impressed me most was that she was a force for change. She was definitely a force What made her special was her strong intuition about what was needed, her ability to develop a vision to get there, and her passion and skills that could get others to buy into that vision. She would recruit community leaders to lead that work. You couldn't say no to Priscilla. And she would convene people from across the community, and she'd marshal the resources and expertise that would be required to move the work forward. On the Pacific Source Board, she was our conscience. She was the one who challenged us constantly to evaluate how what we were doing impacted our members and others in the community. On the Pacific Source Foundation Board, she led two major efforts to refocus and better focus the work of the foundation, first on healthcare improvement and ultimately on health equity. When Priscilla stepped down from the foundation chair position last year, a board grant was named in her honor that was focused on healthcare access. But it was my time on the United Way board, and in particular my work with her on an initiative known as 100% Access that had a lasting impression on me and on the community. So back in the early 2000s, as part of its regular needs assessments, United Way conducted a community needs assessment. And maybe not surprisingly, that needs assessment showed that the top three issues were related to healthcare: access to prescription drugs, access to physicians, and access to health coverage. As part of the transformation that Priscilla was leading to the community impact model, she believed that that was something that United Way could and should tackle. So she recruited me to lead the work and establish a steering committee consisting of healthcare leaders from across the community and local government leaders and other community leaders as well. And it was a challenging time in particular. I think all times are challenging for healthcare, unfortunately. But it was a time we were coming out of the lawsuit between the hospitals, and there was just a lot of tension in the community, and she was able to bring these folks together to the table to move that work forward. She reached out to, she hired Susan Stearns to be executive director of that work. She reached out to a national consultant, Karen Ray, who specialized in community collaboration to help guide that work and engage Karen to do that. We established 5 work groups that were focused on particular areas of healthcare, like prescription drugs or behavioral health. And we charged those groups with further evaluating kind of what was going on in those arenas and then proposing some initiatives to move that work forward. She recruited 5 local high-powered consultants to volunteer their time to facilitate those groups. And it was considerable work. Those folks spent a lot of time doing that. That work culminated in what we called an opportunity conference, where we met at the fairgrounds and each of the groups in a poster session format presented their recommendations. And the large number of attendees, there were actually probably over 100 people that were involved in the work groups, and then a large number of people attended the opportunity conference. And those folks endorsed the work, and that work moved forward. And it really has endured. The work of 100% Access continued long into the future. It eventually rebranded as 100% Health, and then ultimately became part of Live Healthy Lane. So really important work. I think Priscilla's work to improve the community and the lives of those in need is clearly a significant legacy. But for those of us who got to work with her and learn from her, we were also significantly impacted. She made us better people, she made us better members of the community, and she made us better leaders. I miss her dearly. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is George Russell. Before I get into my prepared remarks, I want to say to Jonathan and the family, my deepest condolences for your loss. You know, in my community, we would call it a homegoing celebration. And Priscilla is heading home, and she'll be happier and better off where she is in the long run. And I share your loss and so sad to have seen her gone. I want to just share very quickly, and I first met Priscilla in 1991. I had just returned to Lane County and was working for Lane County government. And at the time, I was heading up the workforce campaign. And I can tell you that it wasn't very long after we first met that she had recruited me to committees, the fundraising, not the fundraising committee, the fund distribution committee, the one that made some folks happy and some folks not so happy because of the way it distributed funds. But I learned so much about this community and the needs and services that were needed in this community from being a part of that committee. So I want to share what my perceptions were of Priscilla. She was a catalytic leader. She was a connector. Priscilla connected many of us, a not so small community, as you can see from looking around this room, but far greater than those in this room. Connected us to her and to United Way. She knew the power of connection and the power that comes from uniting a community. Priscilla gave us all opportunity to be part of something greater than ourselves and to be connected to one another as a community. She was warm and caring. She lit a candle of warmth in every room. Her smile gleamed and was effusive. In a way, it was her trademark. You recognized her by it, and she lit up the room when she came into it. Priscilla was the eternal optimist. She was the epitome of an optimist, and she generated that optimism in those she worked with and connected with. Saying no, as was already mentioned, to her was not really an option. She believed that if you benefited from living or working in this community, you had an obligation to contribute to making it better. Priscilla was all about community impact. This quickly became apparent in the aftermath of the Thurston High School shooting in May of 1998. As the Thurston and Springfield communities reeled from the trauma of the horrific event, community members and parents wanted to know how could they help? How could they do something to be helpful? It was a confusing time with uncoordinated and disjointed responses to the many requests that were coming in for how can I provide help? How can I be of support? To the extent that it became almost overwhelming and out of control. Through her leadership, the Thurston Healing Fund became the go-to source for managing and directing assistance and resources to the victims and families, and helping the community begin to heal. She helped the school districts set up a process to inform our school communities about the Healing Fund and ways that we could help by donating and being sure that it was going to the right places. Her leadership at that time set the stage for United Way's later community responses when fires and floods devastated many of our Lane County communities. Priscilla was a champion for justice, social justice, and educational equity. Through her leadership, the United Way Board, its committees, and staff began to reflect the diversity of the community it serves. As United Way transformed its community model, Priscilla led the charge to ensure the communities of color, rural communities, and others were included. She did have a quirk though, and some of you will remember this. The meeting icebreaker. At the beginning of every meeting, Priscilla loved an icebreaker activity. Just when you hope, maybe not this time. Yep, she'd come up with a new one. She loved them, and she probably learned a lot about us and our oddities, which in turn we hope that she would soon forget. I remember always trying to find a spot in the middle of the room, hoping she'd start from the front or the back, so that I'd get longer time to come up with whatever I was going to respond. Priscilla's legacy is one of caring and giving that has made this community a better place. Yes, there are still many challenges, but she has afforded us the gift of optimism, the belief that we can make a difference, and the belief that we can leave a better place for those who follow, especially the children and youth. So let me end my remarks by borrowing the words of a poem by Will Allen Gould, the bridge builder. A woman going a lone highway came at the evening cold and gray, to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which was flowing a sullen tide. The woman crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fear for them. But she turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. Dear woman, said a fellow pilgrim near, you are wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build this bridge at evening tide? Priscilla lifted her tired head. Good friend, in the path I have come, she said. There follows after me today many youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm that has been as naught to me, to those fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. They too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building this bridge for them. This was Priscilla's legacy, to build bridges. She'd want us to keep on building. Priscilla, you left us better for your being here. You'll be forever missed.
This is Priscilla's hat, so she's here with me today. And it's a hat we've walked with many times. I find myself almost daily picking up my phone to text or call Scylla to tell her something or ask her opinion about something or figure out where we're going to walk or have dinner or just simply to check in how she's doing. Each time I remember I can't do that anymore, and I feel the sadness of her absence all over again. When John asked me to speak about Priscilla, I was surprised, honored, humbled, and daunted by the task. I really struggled about where to begin and how to share about someone I care so deeply about, who's been so much part of my daily life and well-being. Relationships are full of feelings, experiences, and energy, and they're multidimensional. Yet words are two-dimensional and often fall short of being able to fully convey the meaning and quality and depth of the message. How do I even begin to share the essence of this amazing person who was a constant force of good in the world? I think everyone in this room has been touched in some way by her spirit, and I trust you all know what I'm talking about. So I decided that the best way to write Priscilla was to write Priscilla a letter sometime and talk to her directly, which feels more natural and familiar to me. So here is my letter to Priscilla. My dearest friend Scylla, there's so much I want to tell you. How I feel such a funny mix of missing you so, and at the same time feeling your presence in my heart, which is calm and full and radiant. I can easily visualize your full smile lighting up the room, and I can feel your warmth all around me. I feel like you are with me, and I'm carrying you in the world in my heart and soul. John is amazing, and I know you'd be so comforted to see how he's managing the loss of you, his companion. It reflects the love and commitment you shared with each other, and his deep desire to honor you, your legacy, and the person you are. I've so enjoyed watching and processing with you as we've navigated our relationships with your stepdaughters, Erin and Megan, and I know how much you think about them and care for them, and have consciously worked to develop healthy, loving, and close relationships. Having spent some time with each of them recently, I know what an important person you've been to them these 26 years. You've been there for them and provided so much support, love, and stability and guidance. And then came the grandchildren, Mars, Damon, and Talon, and more recently, the addition of Billy in the last few years. Pure joy. It's been so much fun to talk about them with you and brainstorm how to build relationships with each of them, what activities and gifts that speak to each of their interests and personalities, and hear about the fun and educational adventurous trips you and John took with them. I know they will carry you and so many cherished memories of you with them always. It's really so sad you could not see them continue to grow and develop into adulthood. I know you would have loved that dearly. I'm so happy and grateful to beginning to know your brother John and sister-in-law Annie. It's been a joy and gives me more insight and appreciation for you and your life journey. You are the most naturally upbeat person I've ever known. It is who you are, and I'm sure you were born that way. I think most people assume you've had a perfect and charmed life to be able to be an always positive force that you are. And most people are surprised to learn of your struggles as a child growing up, losing your dad when you were 15 years old, and then working with your brothers to try to keep the music store open and care for your mother who was struggling with mental illness. And then on your own way, on your own to find your way, which you've done so adeptly, your inner drive to do good in the world and your intelligence kept you on a forward trajectory that has benefited so many people along the way. I've learned that your love of music, especially classical music, was seeded in your very early, spending time with your nurturing dad in the music store and learning to love it so. And you continue to grow and expand that love throughout your life, supporting local venues and singing in the women's choir. I know your love of the outdoors and nature started early in life and stayed with you because nature is healing and nurturing and centering for you. The joy and beauty and adventure you experience in nature was something you shared with your brother John from a young age. You were instinctively wise and have been able to find strong, wise, and loving elder women to be mentors and guides. As a young girl, Mrs. Janot in your neighborhood, who provided care and security for you, and later in Eugene and Yahat's, Birgitta was there for you as an inspiration, as a role model, and a loving support. You've been a role model and inspiration for me. Your visionary and focused leadership was fueled by your compassionate heart. You never were afraid or hesitant to do the right thing, even when it was difficult. You led by example and by motivating others using your superpower, your magnetic personality and energy, your vision. You drew people into the work and then stepped aside to allow them to use their talents and shine. I've witnessed your visionary leadership and how you bring people along to grow and change in positive directions. You introduced the idea of collective impact to our community. You navigated the transition of United Way of Lane County from predominantly a charity-focused organization to a dynamic community convener and brings diverse people and organizations together to create more powerful and effective change. You moved our education work upstream to expand and deepen your community's understanding of the importance of the earliest years. And then you started Success by Six initiative, knowing this was where to focus to maximize our impact and effectiveness. And this is where you hooked me in. That was 26 years old. And you gradually and gently steered United Way to include and embrace advocacy as part of the work. You knew this was a necessary component of change making. Thank you for the many miles we've walked together in nature over the last 26 years. And all along the way, we shared every part of our inner and outer lives with each other, through simple daily chatter and through serious, meaty conversations. Our conversations usually included the question, "How is your heart, dear friend?" And it was a race to see who would ask the other first that day. Thank you for sharing your deepest thoughts and feelings and experiences with me, your joys, fears, sorrows, pain, love, regrets, and hopes. And thank you for allowing me to share mine with you. We had no secrets, there was no judgment, and I thank you for fully embracing me with unconditional love and support. Thank you for the gifts you gave me, allowing to be close to you as you were dealing with your illness and fading away before our very eyes. It's just what I needed, and you knew that. Even in your dying, you were such a loving and thoughtful friend. You allowed me to rub your feet and to relieve swelling, and you allowed me to hold you upright with a transfer from the bed to the chair, which felt like a real hug. Thank you for your phone call on Tuesday night after talking to the doctor. I know it was to help me to be prepared for what you knew was coming, and to be sure John had heard what you heard and was prepared. It was at that moment I knew your death was imminent, and I needed to say goodbye and let go. And I knew you had accepted this, and it was time. So, dear friend, I will be forever changed by you for good. It will always be with me in my heart and being, and that gives me great joy and comfort. I close this letter with so much love and gratitude, as always, your dearest friend, Judy. So as we close this service, I want to convey to all of you the vision that we had for this gathering. We think Priscilla would be in full support. Today we acknowledge and celebrate our community's past and the growth we have made to the contributions of Priscilla, one of our cherished leaders. And most importantly, we want to inspire and cheer and motivate all of us to continue to build our community into the future. Nothing would please or honor her more. I'll leave you with this quote from the Talmud. Our community's work ahead and hold Priscilla in our minds and hearts. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now, walk humbly now. You're not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. Thank you.
Let's all take a deep breath together after that. Grieving, it's a life potion. We need it, our communities, each one of us. We turn now in this celebration toward the last part. So this garden of stories and remembrances is here. And we're turning toward leaving that, concluding our time in a few moments. One of the ways we do that is to think about Priscilla's presence in our life. We certainly, after hearing that in our tradition, would say something like, "Well done, good and faithful servant." It's been sweet to hear music and know how important that was in her life and her lineage's life, her family's life. Priscilla certainly would want her memory to be for a blessing for each of us and for the community, as we just heard so beautifully. Now, one symbolic expression of that are the dried flowers that were handed out to you, and hopefully are now, if you will, imbued with a kind of energy from this gathering. As a reminder, we want you to take those dried flowers with you. And as you exit in a few moments, as you exit out here on your right will be a table with a series of vases. Or is it vasi? Just put those in there. Those vases will be taken to agencies with which Priscilla was involved, that she cared for. And we hope that is a blessing for them. We also want to remind you that there's an invitation for all of us to go to the reception, which is downstairs in our fellowship hall. There is an elevator if you need that. It will happen after this time, a time to sit at table, another thing that humans have done longer than we can remember, to share food and share company. There will be a video presentation down there as well on the side showing images from her life. There's another form of blessing that I want to invite you into right now. That her memory be for a blessing certainly means that in some ways her qualities, her energy, her vision might be part of what continues to nurture you in this community. We have been blessed by her life, haven't we? And we can take those blessings with us and live them out. And so we're just going to do a kind of simple group prayer, would be a word I would call it, for in just a moment. And we can begin that simply by recalling the kind of qualities, the kind of energies that you experienced as a blessing from Priscilla. Do that right now. Recall those. What are those energies named? And we're going to fill this space with those names. So, with that long sought after permission to use your outside voice indoors in popcorn fashion, I invite us all to simply call them out now into this space.
Fortitude. Kindness.
Grace.
Welcoming.
Thank you, Spirit, for this life. Amen.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take you as broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arrive. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take your sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of the dark black night. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of the dark black night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to rise. You were only waiting for this moment to rise. You were only waiting for this moment to rise.
As an expression of honoring her life, in body and or spirit, I ask you to rise at this time. Spirit beyond all names, we acknowledge that this unique, particular, and beautiful life has come to its last breath. We commit the spirit of Priscilla Gould to your mystic, trusting it is received, trusting that this circle is complete. Into your hands we commend her spirit. Amen. Amen. Please remain standing as an act of love and honoring her deep connection to the earth. Sing one of the beautiful songs from our denomination, number 563 in the Black Hymn. go with a blessing from this life. All those qualities, those energies that were put into this space, remember the ones that are your blessing as we go out back into the community, inspired by the blessing of Priscilla's life. Go in this faith and be that community. Amen.
Some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to that home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, bye bye. I'll fly away. When the shadows of this life are gone, I'll fly away. Like a bird from its nest is up and flown, I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Oh, how glad and happy when we meet. I'll fly away. No more heavy shoes upon my feet. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away to a land where joys will never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by.
Starting Donna, maybe she was here.